Okay. Yeah.
You said that civilians should be able to possess weapons in order to protect themselves, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that 22 children are 22% more likely to accidentally shoot someone when they have a firearm in their hand? Do you think that everyone should be able to have like a firearm in a house? Do you think that children and other civilians that don't know how to work a gun should have access to a gun?
Well, I think that's a different question. It's not. You're saying that we should teach people about guns, which I say that's a great idea, and this is a different debate. I'd say because we're controlling the guns.
You also. It's not banned. You said it would be a ban on guns and all that.
When did I say that?
You said that in reference to a ban in the UK when crime rates increased, but we're not looking for an all-out ban. We're just looking for restrictions on gun selling ownership.
Which would decrease the number of guns in civilians, right?
Well, which would decrease the number of guns in civilian hands that don't know how to use them. Yeah.
Well, it was the same thing in the UK. Like ex-military people and people that know how to use them were able to get it, and still the same effects were there.
You said it was a ban though.
It was a ban on most civilians, but there's loopholes, and like ex-military people are allowed to get them in.
Do you have a fact for that?
Yeah. Well, it's not like a fact, but like according to University of Maryland. According to the University of Maryland, ex-military members and certain high-level affiliates are allowed to possess guns, but everybody else is not allowed to.
So you're saying if there's a high ownership of guns, there's going to be less crimes?
Yes.
Did you know that gun advocates point to Israel and Switzerland for places that have fewer mass shootings and such because they have more gun ownership, but actually the compared to U.S., Israel, and Switzerland that have low gun ownership rates, Israel, where radical reforms for gun ownership are put into place in 2006, saw a decrease of 40% of suicide among the soldiers. Can you read this because that's controversial?
Yeah. So consider that alongside the fact that Israel sends almost all of its youth to the army, and Rosenbaum said that since gun ownership regulations have gotten more severe, the lack of guns promotes the lack of firearm violence. And Israelis may still be committing acts of violence, but they're certainly not using lethal firearms to do so frequently. So basically that adds to our point that if you have access to these weapons, it just makes it way easier to commit these crimes.
But part of gun control is taking away from the civilians that would get them legally in. It's because almost all of gun crimes, I think it's like 45% of gun crimes are used with illegal purchased guns, then like it's taking away.
What we're saying is if we're having more gun control, then that's going to happen a lot less. And people that are not getting these guns,
Wouldn't that happen?
that's going to happen less.
Wouldn't that happen more because if like the legally purchased guns are already like 35%? If we have more restrictions, like
1 minute warning.
Yeah, and if you take away the guns from the good civilians that are just there to protect themselves.
That's what we're taking. We're taking away from criminals. We're taking
No,
away
but
from people that have bad intent for these guns, for people who don't know how to use the guns.
you can't control the criminals. The criminals get them off the black market and get them off of places where they're not able to get them, or where it is illegal, and they can't. The U.S. can't track that.
and then
so
like with gun control, it's going to promote like more people buying stuff in the black
the
market.
criminals will be getting the guns, and you'll leave the good civilians without them unprotected.
You also referenced a lot of situations where countries were invaded by other countries, and their only defense was weapons, guns, that they already had in their hands, and if they didn't, then they were easily overtaken. I don't think that's a problem in the United States because currently there's 270 to 310 million guns in the hands of Americans.
How many?
270 to 310 million guns.
Okay, but do you know
The
how many?
United States doesn't have a problem with that.
How many terrorists are there? Is the question.
But do you think that if the civilians in the United States wanted to overthrow the government, they would be able to do without many guns against the U.S. military.
Why would we need it overthrown?
That's time. Because Obama's president. So, did you, Switzerland and
Israel.
Israel have the most gun ownership
Yeah,
of any
exactly.
country, and they also have one of the lowest crime rates. So that's an argument for their side, not really your side.
Oh, you say that later,
Thank you.
after it's all done.
No.
Oh, sorry.
You can read this after, but only need to.
All right.
It's a good fact.
So summaries are 1 minute long.
Um,
Tell me when you're gonna start.
Okay, so a lot of Americans say that American culture undoubtedly pertains to guns. Many Americans hunt, and American children are at a young age are exposed to gun violence through movies or video games and things like that. Because of this, we think most citizens would support less gun control. They want to continue this culture. The truth is the opposite. 78% of Americans are in favor of stronger firearm controls, including thorough background checks and psychological screenings of potential customers. Another wonderful part of American culture is our freedom. Our Constitution protects our rights to ensure freedom. The Second Amendment is the amendment that protects the right to bear arms. So maybe you think that this amendment prevents stricter gun control laws. In 2008, the Supreme Court ruling, District of Columbia versus Heller, determined that gun ownership bans were unconstitutional. But again, we're not looking for a ban. But it also found that the state and federal governments have a lot of flexibility in how they are to regulate firearm ownership. This means that issues like banning guns in public places, for example, can be a part of gun control laws without conflicting with the Second Amendment, which is what me and my partner argued for. Okay, there's no doubt the gun control debate is being spotlighted in the public area.
That's
right now.
time.
Okay.
You're up, dude.
Alright, so like in conclusion, we believe that like gun control, in conclusion, we believe that gun control shouldn't be messed with because like the number of privately owned guns is only about like 1 million according to like the NRP, and like widely supported gun bans don't deter crime and stuff like that, and we just believe that everyone should have the freedom to like own their firearms and like yeah, and like we believe that like the people have a right to own guns like according to like the Second Amendment, and we believe that like it should be taken to an extent and like but like not as far as it would if gun restrictions come into play. So yeah.
Is that it?
Yep.